Hey Wompers, in this tutorial I'm going to teach you all that you need to know on how to use materials as well as create your very own. For this I have prepared a little scene that we can use to apply the materials to and bring it to life. So the first way in which we can create a new material is through our primitives. If we have a primitive selected, it will open up its properties menu at the right. If we scroll down, we see the material panel where we can make all kinds of changes. By default, this material is unsafe, so you can just make quick changes without worrying, but if you like what you created, you can simply save your material and apply it to any other primitive or union in your props list. So first, let's make a change to the color. I'm thinking about some bluish, grayish kind of shiny floor, so for that we want to bring down that roughness and we will instantly see the reflection in there. If we have the roughness on 0 and add a little bit of metalness, it's almost a crystal clear picture like a ray tracing reflection. By playing around with the roughness slider, you can see how it changes how reflective the floor is and how it almost becomes a bit blurry, which I actually quite like for this scene, so I'll apply a little bit of roughness to it, and once we're happy with what we created here, we just simply click on Save Material and give it a name. I highly recommend you guys just naming all of your materials and layers to keep it organized. And now let's come to our second way of how we can create materials, which is through the actual materials menu at the top bar. If we click on that, we straight away see our saved materials in my collection as well as recently used. And what we can also see here is a bunch of materials that we have pre-created for you. It goes from metal to ceramic, skin color, concrete, all that kind of stuff. If you click on see all, there's even more all ready for you to just apply. But we now want to make our very own from this menu, so we click on the union that we want to create a material for, which is the bottom of our snow globe, and then we click on the plus icon at the top to create a new material. It is now automatically selected and we can just make the same changes that we also had in the tweak menu. So for this I'm thinking of some kind of dark wood color. For that I make it a lot more rough, but I still want to leave it slight tiny bit of shiny. Can also give it a little bit of metalness. And yeah, I think that's looking good. Give it a name, just call it bottom here. And then we come to the really exciting part now. How do we actually make glass for the snow globe? So really important about glass is that we actually have a shape that's hollow on the inside. So here I have a sphere that is subtracted by a sphere from the inside, which is a tiny bit smaller. And now if we click on that union, go back to the materials panel, click on plus to create a new material. Here we have the very obvious glass slider. To make glass, really important to have the metal and roughness very low. And then you can just simply drag up the glass and oh, look at that, there's a snowman inside of there. Isn't that lovely? And yeah, I think it looks absolutely wonderful. We just go back to the materials menu and click on edit material. Here you can also duplicate it or delete the material. We have a bunch more options with translucency, and what's also really interesting is if we play around with a tiny little bit of metalness or roughness, which gives it this almost milky, frosty kind of look. I really like that as well. I think it's really interesting. Definitely play around with that to make your own materials. I think the materials in Womp are incredible and there's lots of things possible with it. It's also really interesting if you just change the color of glass materials, but it usually works the best if you have quite a light material. In the bluish or greenish tone works the best from my experience. But yeah, just feel free to play around with that. And here's also a render for you guys, as well as another scene that I have actually created, which is a good display for the materials, I think. And yeah, that's about it for this tutorial. I really hope you guys enjoy creating your own materials in Womp.